Welcome back to the Pitstop podcast. Fab, we've got a guest with us today.
We have a cool guest. I believe, am I right in saying this is our first international guest?
It is. This is our first ever international guest.
That's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let him explain what he does, but it's Michael Italiano.
That is me.
Yeah.
Thanks, boys. That was a good intro. I like that.
That is one of the coolest names ever.
What a name.
Yeah,
What a name.
Yeah.
Is that your real name?
No, it's fake.
Oh.
Is it really?
No, I'm joking. It's my real name.
I just thought it was fake, really.
So did I. Because Fab was wondering, does that mean, are you a bit Italian?
A bit, yeah. Yeah, my father is, hence the surname.
Oh, that makes perfect
Same as me.
sense.
Yeah, unfortunately you can't choose your surnames, but you know what? I'll roll with it.
But are you Australian? So you're born in Australia?
Correct. I was born in Australia, so I am technically Australian, but I have European heritage going back to my grandparents.
Got you.
That's really interesting.
I love that we've got an Australian voice on the pod.
I know.
We have a lot of listeners in Australia, and we've never had anyone.
Oh, really?
Australia. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
We have
quite
this
a
thing
audience
where,
there.
like, I don't know, I always do an Australian accent. And I had to pledge not to do it today.
Hang on. Okay. Because I find a lot of my Brit friends think they can do an Australian accent and they do a Kiwi accent. And I'm just like, come on, guys.
Oh, Fab, you're
no,
going to have
there's
to do it now.
You have to do it now.
Redo our intro in the Australian accent.
There's a fine line between it. I don't really...
That's yeah, keep going.
I don't really know if you can tell the difference between my one and whatever your friends do. Does it sound Australian?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's a slight weak hybrid of South African in there. Maybe.
There is a little bit.
No, it's all right.
There is a little bit.
No, I respect that. That was a good effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll give you 7 out of 10.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That
next
means
time
a
we
lot.
speak, I want to see about a 9.
All right. That means
to
a lot
work.
coming from an actual Aussie to say that's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that was decent.
You don't want to hear mine, so I'll practice for the next
Yours is
time.
like a
Mine just turns
Suffolk
everything.
accent. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah, so it's a really special guest today. Really, really happy you're here. Do you want to tell the people what it is that you do?
Yes, so I'm a performance coach in F1. So I've been training at Daniel Ricciardo for the last 5 years.
So cool.
That's big.
So cool hearing that accent and hearing someone say Daniel Ricciardo.
That's really big. You guys are both Australian. Do you guys have any, before we get into like Formula One and everything that you do you guys have history before this? Like, did you just start working together in the F1 or did you know each other before?
Yeah, so I met him when I was about, I reckon 13.
Wow.
I met him through mutual friends. Our friend was a boxer, and he would train boxing every day. So I would go down to our local boxing gym just for fitness because I was playing football at the time in Australia. Aussie rules, I should say.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
What does that mean?
By the way, I watched that and I still have no idea how they. It's just a circle.
You know
isn't
the
it?
egg ball, that kick in between the big sticks?
Oh, like rugby?
Oh, it's kind of
Yeah,
it's not.
We'll explain that another day.
Yeah, I'll show you some YouTube clips later. But anyways, I was going there for fitness because boxing's great cardiovascular fitness and it's great for strength endurance. And Daniel was going there for fitness because at the time he was racing karting.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty much there every day on my off season, and he was pretty much there every day. So we kind of kicked it off in a local boxing gym, and
At 13 years old?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I significantly remember him because obviously he's got these big, thick black curls. But what I do remember is, so there was a football oval across the road. So for warm ups, we would run around the oval like as a warm up, just to get the blood flowing through the legs. Go in the gym and start training. He would put a helmet on and start running around the football oval.
No way.
So I'm like, here I am, like about to warm up, and I'm like, I'll jog with him, get to know him.
Is this guy okay?
Puts his
Like,
head-
you're thinking,
puts his
who is
helmet
this
on.
guy?
I'm like, who is this guy? What is he trying to do? Wow. Like,
Oh my word.
does he realize that's not a boxing helmet? Like, that's a racing helmet. And then I found out through my mate, like, yeah, no, he races. And I'm like, okay, like, well, what's this? Why is he doing this? And it was pretty much just an old school way of strengthening your neck.
Oh yeah, I
So he was
suppose.
just-
Yeah.
So it was just his way of just getting an extra bit of strength of the neck in whilst training boxing. So
Wow.
that's how I remembered him. And then yeah, we hit it off pretty cool. And he was the type of guy in the boxing gym that would come from behind and just give you a little cheap shot and then run off.
Did you ever fight each other in the boxing gym?
No, I was too big for him.
I was going to say, you're a big guy.
I let him go.
Yeah, we noticed this. Yeah, you are a big guy because F1 drivers are quite short, aren't they? Not
Yeah,
short, but like they're quite.
He's on the taller side, but yeah, he's definitely like he's thin. Like I would say he's definitely on the leaner side of most of the drivers on the grid for sure. He's always been quite lean.
Yeah. And then when you were in the boxing gym with him back then, did the friendship just evolve, and then that led to you working with him? Like, how did that transition period happen to you now working with him?
Yeah, it wasn't planned. It was just, and we never really discussed it. When we first met, my ambitions in life, leaving school, was to be an engineer.
Yeah.
So I studied civil and structural engineering, and I did that. I'm like civil structural, like design engineering for like 7 years in Perth, and I was sitting in office, just basic 9-to-5 job. And then I had a bit of an epiphany moment when I was like, geez, well, I'll be pretty miserable if I'm still in this office in 10 years' time. So I followed my passion, which was strength and conditioning and coaching. I got qualified, and I started my own business in Perth, training like a bunch of athletes, like golfers, mixed martial artists, footballers, rugby players. And during this whole time, I stayed in contact with Daniel, but he'd only come back for around Christmas time each year because he moved to Europe at a very early age to obviously aspire to make F1. You can't stay in Australia and keep racing. Mm-hmm. You need to go to Europe because that's where the benchmark is, right?
Yeah.
So I'd only see him for like a month a year, and he knew I was very into my training, my fitness. I was still playing competitively. So he'd always ring me when he'd come back. I'm like, cool, let's go for a run, let's train, because I was always that guy that'd say yes. So we stayed in contact that way, and then he obviously knew what I was doing from a coaching perspective. And then the end of 2017, my 5 a.m. alarm went off, ready for my first client at 6, and I had a message from him. And it pretty much said, hey man, coming back next week, love to have a chat to you to see if you wanted to come travel the world with me next year as my coach.
What a text.
Cool.
And me being an absolute banana, I messaged back, and I think I wrote something smart ass back because I thought he was joking, right? I thought he was just having me on.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm serious. Can we grab a coffee? So so end of 2017, we sat down, and he labeled what he wanted, and I told him a bit of my expectations on how I see things working and evolving, because being friends is one thing, but then working together is another.
Different dynamic.
There's always that old cliche like never do business with your mates, but I don't like that cliche. I think it can definitely work as long as
1,000,000%.
Yeah, like if the communication's there, you're transparent, you trust each other. I can't see why not. So started in 2018. He gave me 4 weeks to pack my bags and move to London.
Oh wow!
So it was quite a hectic start of 2018, and then the rest is history.
So you come straight from Australia to London. So are you primarily based around London?
Yeah, so I've been based in London for 5 years now.
Wow.
Haven't started talking like you guys yet. I'm sure I'll pick up soon.
And then did you have to learn everything about F1, or did you already watch Formula One? Like when Daniel said to you, come be my performance coach, at that point, did you know everything he was doing or everything going on?
I started following Formula One very closely when Daniel made it. So yes, I think by the time we started working together, he was already in the sport for 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. So yes, I did know a bit about Formula One, but I did do the basics, and I was like, geez, I need to know a little bit about this sport because I've never trained a motorsport athlete before. So bought some books like F1 history and some other basic stuff, and I'm sitting there like a little kid, pretending that like I'm back in high school trying to learn a topic, and just to get to myself up to speed. And I do vividly remember the first year just being like just a big sponge. Like I didn't want to overcoach to a point where like I'm trying to force my coaching. I was like, hang on a second, I'm going to sit back for a lot of this year and just soak in on how you work, how you operate, because he'd been in the system for a while, right? So he had techniques, he had methods, he had preparation
set ways of doing stuff.
Stuff, right? So I didn't want to just come in and just change the environment, because I came in and he was already booming on the scene. Mm-hmm. So he was already doing very, very well. So I was like, well, hang on, there's obviously a lot of things that you're doing right. So I'm just going to sit back for most of the year and just be a sponge. And then I'll give you my interpretation at the end of the year, what I think works well and what I think we could probably do things differently or do better. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did he get rid of his previous coach then? And then when you come in, or did the team fire their coach? Or where was the gap from? Yeah,
so his previous coach, they parted ways for, I think, mutual reasons. I think his old coach was moving more into like triathletes
Okay,
So
yeah,
he was
yeah.
moving
Right.
away from motorsport in general.
Yeah.
Which then which gave the position available to me. So
Yeah.
you could say luck, you could say good timing, but I always say you create your own luck.
Oh, without a doubt.
If I didn't make the transition, I wouldn't be here today talking to you guys. So
That's so crazy. I mean, you kind of like moved to the UK and your life's just been, I imagine, completely different to what it was like before.
it was like I remember the first week in London, and I brought my winter clothes and I walked outside and it felt like I was just the wind just pierced through my through my winter jumper, and I was like, this is definitely an Australian jumper, right? This isn't ready for European weather, right? So I had to literally go and just buy a whole new wardrobe because January and February was freezing. And also, like I just started noticing like some basic lifestyle like differences, like waking up early on the weekend and going for a walk. There's no one out. Early mornings. Like
We're all hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, you get up at like 7 or 8 and go for a walk, and there's no one on the streets. And I'm like, gee, this is weird. We're like,
It's like a ghost town.
yeah,
Literally,
like where I'm from in Perth, you know, you go along the coast at 7, 8 a.m. and it's like it's full of people.
Really?
Just like, yeah, just making the most of their day. But so yeah, it's quite cool to, like, to I guess gather like the different lifestyles of like, you know, in Australia and being in London. And
Yeah.
the one thing I do love about being here is you don't need a car.
No, yeah, I just got rid of mine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, which is great. I don't like driving, as you know, so it's quite convenient. And us Brits and I say us Brits and us Aussies, we're very similar, right?
We are very similar.
Yeah, I feel like we are.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Australia. I feel like I'd love it there.
Yeah.
Never been.
The
It's been a
flags are
goal.
fairly similar, I think, and something like that.
So I found it a pretty easy transition, to be honest. Like, I think you get along quite well with one another. So, yeah, it's been smooth.
You just said you don't really like driving. I don't know if you know, but we had a guy called Brad Scanes on. He's Verstappen's performance
Yes.
coach. He's a really cool guy. Do you know Brad?
Yes. Oh well, I know of him obviously because he's within the paddock. So yes, we've met and we've had a beer together. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Next time we're there, we'll all have a beer together.
Yeah, nice.
He said he drives Max to the race, but if you don't like driving, I saw a video and it looked like Ricardo drove
Daniel
you
was
to the
driving,
race.
wasn't he? Yeah.
Or was that just one video? Or do you drive him?
So it's probably one video. So
Oh, okay. Just for the video, then he drove.
was that? Did we have helmets on? I think we're in a.
I don't know.
Nah,
I can't- No, it looked like an after the race.
He was
vlog.
he couldn't park it very well. He was
Oh, yeah,
struggling
he couldn't
parking.
park.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there are rare times where he feels like driving, but most of the time it's either myself or Blake, his manager, who will drive to the track.
Oh, okay.
One less thing for him to do.
Yeah.
and to like just try and save his brain. Just let him rest in the back seat whilst we drive. So
Yeah.
Do McLaren sort you out with a nice car to drive at every race, like
the thing
to and
is,
from?
everyone thinks it's like that we drive in McLaren all the time, but we actually don't.
No.
Because there's three of us usually at a race. It's me, Blake, and DR. So having a two-seater McLaren is actually
It's not
very
gonna work.
That's true. That's true.
And usually, like, you're picking up your high car at the airport. So we've got luggage.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can't actually use it. The McLaren's actually quite inconvenient. But like during Silverstone, it's convenient for Daniel. So I think he'll drive one in Silverstone. And I think during a few locations he gets sorted out with the McLaren. But unfortunately, I don't get to take one for a spin. It's only for Daniel use. So
Yeah. It's such a mad lifestyle. You guys travel so much. And we know that next year there's going to be even more races, so your calendar's going to be like mad. But
Don't
do you get a chance to like party and like chill, like apart from on these like holidays that we have obviously in August?
Yeah.
Do you get a chance like during the week to like have a drink or go out and party and get fucked up?
That's the easy way to say it.
Yeah.
trying to get me in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, we do. I would say, the best time for us is usually if we fly into a particular location on the Wednesday. We usually do have the Wednesday night and Thursday night to go out for a nice meal at a nice restaurant and maybe have a glass of wine or a beer or a cocktail and just, I guess, enjoy the moment of being where we are.
Yeah.
Usually, you can find some pretty cool restaurants at most places that we go. But then from Friday onwards, it's
You're locked in
12 to 14 hours at the racetrack, and you're trying to get your athlete to bed as early as possible because you want him to maximize as much sleep as he can get. So
Yeah.
yes, if you have a very good result that Sunday night, you'll find an extra little bit of kick and you'll continue to kick on and maybe have a drink or whatnot. But most of the time we stay sensible as a group. I like to practice what I preach, right? So if I'm asking Daniel to go to bed early, I'll be that role model and I'll go to bed early with him.
Yeah.
I don't like to be that person that
Can't tell him to go to bed, and then he sees on Instagram you're out doing Jaeger bombs till 3 a.m.
Yeah, and then wake up in the morning, I'm smelling like tequila. So it's just, like, for me, that doesn't sit well with me. Like, if you want to be a good role model, you want to be a good leader, you should lead by example. So whatever I ask Daniel to do, I'll do as well. So if we're having a quiet week and it's like, no, hang on, full focus this weekend, then I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock with him. I'm waking up at the same time as him. We're doing stretches in the morning. We might do some movement together in the morning, but we'll do everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you joined Daniel in his first Formula One year, what team was he at?
Red Bull.
Red Bull, yeah. One of my questions I wanted to ask you, because we completely forgot to ask Brad, and also he's only ever been at Red Bull.
Yeah.
What's it like going from team to team? Because you go with the driver.
Yeah.
But how hard is it to adjust? Like, how different is each team? Because I've seen a video where you said the hardest bits are names. Like, I'm terrible at remembering people's names as well. But how different is everyone's structure, and does a lot change, or does your job stay pretty similar to the previous team, just working with the driver?
I'd say my job stays pretty similar, but I would say the transition, it does take time. Like, you build relationships, you build familiarity with everyone and how people work, how people operate, understanding what language to use with different type of characters, of course. So every team has different systems in place, and then obviously you got different race engineer that Daniel has to get accustomed with very quickly. That bond is very important. I don't know how much people actually understand about that bond, but that is
between you two, or between the race engineer
and Daniel.
Yeah.
There has to be some very strong synergies there, and so that, I think the transition is harder than you think. I noticed that the first move to Renault, here I was very like naive. I just thought, he's just going to get in the car and it's going to be fine. And I remember he came out of testing. He's like, holy shit, this is very different, like to the Red Bull.
Yeah.
And he needed to get used to a few things. And, fortunately after like 4 races, he got up to speed quite quickly. But I would say it probably took us a whole year at Renault to really feel comfortable within that team, just because we were so used to the Red Bull systems. And I think there has to be a bit of a transition period when you cross over to a different team. And I guess at the end of the day, on the race weekends, it's the same, right? You walk into a garage and you're there to race. It's the same thing. But I think if you're looking deeper into the actual team itself, there are things that you need to work on for sure. Like, it's not as simple as what everyone thinks. And I guess you could probably label, Daniel's transition from Renault to McLaren as, a perfect example that sometimes it can be more difficult than easy.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, does it ever come between you two? Because you know each other so well.
Yep.
You have the business working relationship, but you also have the friendship. Is there any friction? If he is having a bad day, things aren't going right, does that impact how you two are working together?
Yes, but when I say impact, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say negatively. I would just say that's on me to understand when to put my coaching hat on and when to put my friend hat on, right? And that's where it comes to me to understand. Okay, hang on a second. Is this the time where I need to give him some coaching advice, or is this the time that I need to be a friend and just be that sounding board and be that someone that he just needs to just talk to and just essentially just hang out with and just maybe just ignore the adversity that's coming. Yeah. But I found the first year quite challenging for that. And he was also getting used to when to take me seriously and when to not take me seriously. Yeah. And that's fine. I knew that was going to happen, right? But all credit to him. Like, he put trust in me. And now I find it quite, I guess, quite natural when to be a coach and when to be a friend. Like, it's just something that I think you pick up, over time, because I'm with him so often. So
he must be one of the best people to work with, because he's just such an amazing guy. Like, we love his person. We got into this whole thing from Drive Survive. Nice. So when you started working with him, that's kind of when Drive Survive started.
First year.
Yeah. So you've watched the evolvement of Dan. He's become this. He's already massive, but
he became a true star through that show, I think, because it showed his personality.
And he's great.
Yeah.
Like,
he's authentic. He's authentic, and I think that's what helps.
That's what didn't Jensen Button say that? He said that Daniel's exactly the same on camera and off.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what Jensen said. Yeah.
Oh no, he is.
Yeah.
If you're tired and you need a quiet day, you don't want to hang out with Daniel because he's nonstop.
Really?
Yeah, I did a 14-day quarantine with him 2 years ago when we came back to Perth, and that was fun.
Wow.
Your laugh sounded like Ricciardo's.
Oh, really?
That sounded like
Oh shit! I'm gonna change that up.
No, yeah, Drive Survive obviously painted an amazing picture of Ricciardo and shared everything, and I love all the clips. But did you see a change in the whole sport when it was all being filmed? Like, because it hadn't really happened before. There wasn't as much cameras as there is now. But do you feel there's like way less privacy? Is there a camera always on everything? You have to be so careful of what's said, who sees what.
Yeah, I guess I don't know any better because my first race was Australia 2018, and that was the first ever race Netflix started.
So they were just there.
And it was Daniel's home race. And here I was, and there was like 8 cameras in his face, and he just looked at me and he could tell I was a bit like taken back. And he's like, don't worry, they're not all like this. And I was like, okay.
And they were.
But they were.
They were. Probably got more. Probably
Yeah,
more
so
and more.
like,
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I've seen that Drive to Survive has done for the sport is over COVID. Especially like this year has been the biggest year that I've noticed where the sport has just transitioned immensely from a popularity perspective. Like if I'm looking back at 18, 19, yes, the events were big and popular, but now it's crazy. Like every race is like selling out 6 months in advance. Like the fans at the hotels is ridiculous. Like,
Oh, really? Did you get mobbed?
I mean, Will Daniel gets mobbed.
Yeah.
I just stand there and get crowded and crushed. I'm like,
If we see you, we'll shout your name.
I'm like invisible. I'm like invisible. when
Yeah, we
Daniel's
should go
there.
up to him and Daniel and just be like, Michael, please can you sign this?
I won't know what to do.
That would be great.
Yeah, but no, it's done wonders for the sport.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing that I've noticed is 2018 heading to like Austin, for example, we could walk down Rainy Street and 6th Street and not get noticed. Where last year it felt like it was our home race, and it felt like I was in Australia. We literally walked down, and he's getting stopped by hundreds of people, like instantly. So I think it's definitely built an strong American presence, 100%.
Oh, in America,
from what I've seen, and
sure.
even just in 18, I remember Daniel walking down in LA. We go to LA for some training sometimes, and man, we could walk along LA a whole week and not get noticed. Now he can't leave his house without getting noticed.
Yeah.
So like I've seen a big transition for sure since Netflix.
So he's got a house in LA.
Yeah,
he lives in LA.
That's where he is.
Is that where he is now? Yeah.
Yeah, just enjoying some sun.
Yeah.
So good on him.
How are you working with him right now? Like, what have you like sent him something today? Sent him do some sit-ups or something? A couple of star jumps?
He's like, I'm going on this shit podcast today, so I can't send you anything until later on.
Yeah, he's actually listening right now.
Yeah, we were saying, imagine he turns up with Daniel.
I was going to sit over here and
I could put him on the sim actually.
Oh,
That'd be good.
yeah, when
That'd be
they're ready,
really
that'd
good.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put him in your bag and bring him around.
Yeah. No, but usually I just send him like an online program. So I'll send him some programming, and usually sometimes we'll do like a Zoom session together, and sometimes I'll give him a program and I'll just say, hey, that's what you got to do. You know what you got to do this. I'll check in every day to make sure that everything's all good. Because he's very experienced now and he's a senior driver, I can put trust in him. I know he's a professional. I know he'll do it. If it was a younger driver, I'd probably be a little bit more strict and maybe jump on the Zoom every day to make sure that they're doing it. But yeah, I know Daniel is good like that, and he holds himself in high regard, and he's very professional like that. So I can send him a program, he does his thing, and we just keep tabs. I just keep tabs on him to make sure everything's going smoothly.
So when you guys aren't apart, is he in London with you and you train together on a one-to-one basis?
Yeah, so he'll come to UK when he has to do some sim work at McLaren in working. So when he's in the UK, yes, we will train together for sure because I'm here. Other weeks I will fly to Monaco because he's technically mainly based in Monaco.
That's what Brad does with Max as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll run past.
Which I found
Brad and
insane,
Max.
by the way, because the guy's literally flying to Monaco every week, and I know it's only an hour and a half on a plane or something, but. We don't like flying anyway.
No,
we
I'm
fucking
scared
hate
of flying.
because we thought we were going to crash on our last flight. We got hit by lightning. It was crazy.
A plane got hit by
gosh.
lightning.
And at the time, I know it doesn't mean anything, but at the time, we were like,
it was like the
bricking
biggest. We were just sat on the plane, and he had his headphones on, and I was just sat there in dead silence, looking forward, coming into landing, and just bang from the inside of our plane,
Big
like
flash of
sounded
light.
like an explosion in our plane. Like everyone was like looking round, people were crying.
Yes,
it was
we don't really want to
petrifying.
fly anymore.
Sparks
gosh.
going up the side of the plane. I was
Yeah.
absolutely shitting myself. I don't want to fly anymore.
Yeah.
Is it Was there any damage that you know to the plane? Was it?
I don't know.
They actually they can absorb the lightning, that they're built to absorb it. But at the time, you don't really realise what's going on.
Yeah, of course.
And then they started playing all that. You know, the exits are here,
In
and
the
here.
event of an evacuation,
You're
we're like,
kidding.
and all
we're
the
like,
and all the
what?
stewardess people, you know, they like the people that come and do the seatbelt and that, they just walked along and they were picking up everyone's stuff, just putting it straight in, not even asking, like picking up bags, putting them in the whole.
He's freaking out the whole time. I'm
He
just
had
jamming out to the
headphones
Foo
on.
Fighters. Like, this is sick. What's going on?
And I could listen to
Didn't even
everyone
know.
like crying, and it's horrible.
Oh no, I would have completely freaked out. I think.
It was horrendous.
Oh wow. Okay.
And now we've got to fly next month because we're going out to the Dutch Grand Prix, which is going to be
Nice.
exciting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's the first place.
That's a really, really cool race.
We can't wait.
I was very impressed with Zandvoort's GP last year.
For what reason?
The atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dutchies they're crazy, man. They're super passionate. So
Yeah.
like they just bring a cool vibe to the race, and I do recall their DJ being really good.
Oh yeah.
I think Armin van Buren was playing, so like he had
Okay.
some really cool beats, and like he got the crowd involved, and it was just a good atmosphere all around. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's going to be a
surprised
great
me.
one. What's a race weekend like for you, start to finish? And we got a load of stuff out of Brad, and I don't want to ask you the same questions, but I want to put a few of them on you and see whether it's the same thing. Like
Sure.
he says he takes Max's race suit and does all of that, and he washes it and everything. Do you wash Daniel's?
No.
No, you don't. So Brad does wash Verstappen's. But
Zach
you
Brown
don't
does
wash-
it.
Oh, does he?
So I
Zach takes it.
no, the team does it. So
Okay.
I put it in a laundry bag, and one of our team members get it laundered, and they actually bring it back to the track, and it's all nicely folded and clean.
Oh, Red Bull have
I've actually-
stitched Brad
They're
right
trying to
up
save a
there,
bit of money here.
I do remember at Red Bull I was doing the laundry.
Oh, really?
That's obviously a process at Red Bull. Yeah, I was doing the laundry. I've actually got a funny laundry story about McLaren, but yeah.
Yeah, go on. You got to tell it now.
Well,
You can't just say that and then not say
yeah,
it.
it's got to be said.
so essentially, every race weekend I get his race suit and his unders, and it's all like there's 5 pairs of them, right? Because
Unders, like
so sorry, he's
undies.
yeah, he's like, so he's got his fire resistant unders, and then he's got his actual his race suit on top
okay.
of that, right?
Yeah.
So usually we get 5 pieces of each because there's 5 sessions during the week, so he has a fresh set
Yeah.
every session, and that way then I don't have to laundry anything. Everything just goes into a dirty bag.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They deal with the sweaty mess at the end of the race. For some reason I can't remember. I think it was Miami. We only had 4. So I made a reminder to myself that okay, after Saturday qualifying, I need to bring one back and wash it so he has a clean set for the race tomorrow. Me just being completely probably just in the moment of Miami or how crazy it was.
Yeah.
I forgot it. So I rocked up Sunday and I've just walked into the room and I've seen the dirty stuff and I'm just going, oh shit. I was like, how do I break it to my driver that he's going to wear this sweaty, stinky outfit?
Febreze it or
Yeah,
something.
like I don't know if you remember, Miami was hot, so like
Yeah.
this stuff was still wet. So I remember like grabbing it and like walking down to the kitchen and like the sun, because we were in a stadium, remember, right? So like I couldn't find anywhere like to dry it.
Yeah.
And I remember going like in the center of the stadium where the kitchens were, and the sun had just peeped through, and I just found this little pocket where these like crates were, and I think on the crates were like, it's like McLaren had like all their vegetables or something. They took them off, so this blank pallet. And I just like laid his like hot stuff down there. And I'm just standing there letting it dry. I was too scared to leave it because I was like, someone's going to take this for sure.
Yeah.
They just see like a McLaren suit.
Yeah.
They're taking it.
Oh, I'd be taking it
Yeah,
straight.
I'd definitely take
So
it.
I'm just standing there and people are like walking past like, what are you doing? And I'm like, drying his clothes. So unfortunately, Daniel had to race in a very sweaty outfit.
How did you break it to him? What did he say?
To be fair,
I bet he was alright about it.
He was alright
It's like,
about
mate,
it.
don't worry.
I mean, I felt sorry for whoever was standing next to him at the national anthem because he would have stunk. And post race, it was even worse. But yeah, that's probably that was definitely on me. I feel really bad, so I'll make sure that I put like an alarm or something if that ever happens again. So
Yeah.
I don't forget to launder his.
That's great, because that was actually probably one of our questions. The same thing, we asked Brad the same thing. Have you ever like messed up something for Max on the day? So have
Yeah.
you ever done anything apart from the race suit? Like, what did Brad say?
Basically,
forgot
he
to
did
put
something on the
visor
visor.
Oh, he didn't take the inside film off.
Oh,
the
I've done
visor.
that.
Really?
Yeah, I've done that. My bad. I've given him 2 left-hand gloves, and he just like, and he'd like, because he had his helmet on and he can't talk to me. He's just like waving it at me, and I'm just like, yeah, man, it's a glove. Like, what do you want? And he's like waving it, and I just stood there. And then his engineer, because I can hear him on the mic, Michael, he needs a right-hand glove. And I was like, everyone's just looking at me, and just you try and really act cool and walk back to your bag, and like, yep.
I was going to say, are you on the track by this point?
We're in the garage, and they're about to obviously let him out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I obviously couldn't hear him, but he's just flapping this this glove at me.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the most stupid thing I've done. Yeah, for sure. It's all part of the sport.
It's all part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I said the same thing. Like F1 seems so streamlined and on point, and everything's perfect. But you have these little bits which people don't know about, where stuff just doesn't quite match up or go the right way.
Oh, it's such a technical sport. There's so much going on. There's like so much that could go wrong. So much people have got to think about.
Yeah.
So much pressure on like different people. Do you feel a load of pressure on you on race day, or do you feel pressure on like the pressure for Daniel? Like.
Yeah, I think initially I felt a little. I wouldn't say pressure. I'd say nerves.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot riding on these races. Like some races you're flying up to 14 hours to get to a destination, and you commit like 7 days in this one destination to prepare for this one moment, and then your race could be over in 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So it's more so the nerves, just because there are so many parameters that can go wrong out of your control in motorsport, and I think that's what brought on the nerves with me initially. I was like, okay, I just want a smooth race. I just want to see him race, because I know if he stays out there and he finishes the race, he's going to have a good race. That was just my confidence in him. So I think over time, like you learn to control those nerves as you get experience. Like I think I get more nervous in qualifying, to be fair, and maybe the start of a race. But once that's over, it's like head down. I got my little notebook and I'll take some notes and just pretty much get into work mode. But I'd say maybe the first year I felt a little bit, and obviously if you're having a little bit of a dry spell from a results perspective, you do feel a little bit of pressure, because you are part of that team, right? You are responsible for his performance in some way. So you need to learn how to deal with pressure. I like to take a different perspective on pressure. I like to say that pressure is a privilege. Right, so if you're feeling pressure, it's because you're doing something that's worthy.
Yeah, that you really want to be the best at.
Yeah.
You want to put the best performance. It's so true.
It's true, because if you're not feeling pressure, it's obviously you don't care about it.
Yeah.
And it's not worthy enough to you. Right. So I like to throw a bit of positive reinforcement. If Daniel's ever feeling pressure, it's like, cool, man. Well, you're in a privileged position, because that pressure you're feeling right now, there's millions of people that rather have that pressure on them.
Yeah, it's true.
So
you got to put it into perspective a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Do you feel like, so how are things this year? I know when you say like, if things don't go the right way in terms of results or points, it can change the dynamic and how things is going on. What's it like this year compared to previous years?
Yeah, it's tough, because our mindset doesn't change. Like we're a very resilient bunch, and Daniel is very resilient in himself. And
you can tell that, because he oozes it every time he does an interview. Like he's always super level-headed about everything. And, he just seems like he handles it quite well.
Yeah, media can be brutal at times, right? But again, like I put that down to pressure, right? Because I'm just like, oh, hang on a second, they're talking about you for a reason. It's because they expect more from you, which is fine, because you can't control their expectations. But you also have to try and understand, you don't want to listen to the white noise, the background noise, right? You don't want to get distracted on what other people are saying, what other people are thinking. Because at the end of the day, you need to focus on your process and what you can control. We can't control what the media say. We can't control what people think, right? And there's no point even throwing any energy in that direction, because you can't control people's emotions, right?
Yeah.
It's physically impossible. So it's all about just staying very narrow-minded on what our process is, right? We know what works, right? He knows what works, right? It's proven. He's proven that he can be one of the best drivers on the grid based on when we focus on the process. And I think the frustrating part is, there is a process, and then there's like I said, there's parameters outside of your control that do make a difference to the outcome and to the results, right? And that's something that it's hard to harness sometimes, because you're like, okay, I'm doing everything in my power. I'm working hard. I'm focusing on what I need to focus on. but the results aren't there, right? And it's so easy to label yourself based on your results.
Of course, yes.
It
so
really,
easy to-
I think, it's so important to remember Formula One is such a team sport as well. Like,
Yeah.
so much has to work within everything, car, everything has to come together.
Correct.
It made me think of something I saw in your story. Did I see you're a Liverpool fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you put a mug up and you had a Liverpool logo. Do you watch football? Yeah.
Yeah, I love football.
What did you? I wanted to ask you from a performance coach point of view.
Yeah.
What about Nunez's headbutt? Not good, is it?
Atrocious.
That's not good. Mate, that was your talent. If even you were his coach and he would have did that, what would you do?
He's obviously getting 2 weeks for the red card.
Yeah.
I'd sit him out for 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was really bad, fam. I know you don't watch football.
I haven't seen
I'm
it.
probably being like harsh. Like I'm sure, like again, never judge a book by its cover. Like there could have been a more deeper thing that happened between, I don't know who the defender was, but the simple answer is like you made a selfish act which affected the entire team.
Yeah.
Right. So you put yourself first before the team, and I think that's I hope the biggest lesson that he learns from that is don't put yourself first, because it's at where he is at the moment, coming into a new team, he's trying to earn respect of his new peers, right? He's trying to lead by example and be like, okay, I'm worthy of this team, I'm worthy of being in this position. Last thing you want to do is do something selfish like that.
Has Daniel ever done anything that has made you have to do that to him? Has he ever done anything where you've had to like tell him off or
Punched Esteban off.
imagine that?
No, look, to be honest, no. But there are moments where you do need to put your coaching hat on and you give them a bit of a wise word. Or sometimes their head does go in a different direction and then they're not aware of it. And sometimes that's when it's your job to bring them back.
Yeah.
Right? But hang on a second, that's not what we're focusing on. Right? We're focusing on this. And like again, throwing a bit of perspective, because I'm not sure if you guys have competed, but in competition, controlling your emotions is super difficult, right? And if you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of your thinking, you lose control of your perspective, and you can really start to spiral. And, and that can happen post-race, like I said, if you label yourself based on what you do rather than who you are, so if you base yourself on your results, then, you can start getting to a bit of a negative mindset, or hang on a sec, I'm not good enough, or, and that's when you need a coach, but hang on a second.
That's pretty much why I stopped playing football. I used to play 11 aside my whole life, and then I played up front, dry up with the goals. You start getting a bit older. You don't feel happy on the pitch. I'd run around and I'd have other things on my mind for the first time. Yeah. And like I can imagine that in like a driver's head as well. That can be fully focused.
Yeah. See, it's so different. It's so different in music, because you have to maintain like I need to make sure I'm on time when I play the drums, but then like emotion is everything in music. And I suppose it is the same in driving as well. Like if you're a born and bred driver, then like you're going to be so emotional about it. But I feel like in music you can let your emotions go a bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't really know.
We need to get Alexis Kings playing at a Formula One.
Yeah,
show.
we do.
We want Fab's band to like headline one of the Formula One events at some point. That's one of our goals.
Yeah,
I reckon you can make it happen.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool. Silverstone had a massive stage, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. To be fair, we managed to make quite a lot of crazy things happen with this podcast, and we don't really know how.
What did you listen to?
Bit of everything. The flavour of the week at the moment has been Gang of Youths.
I love that flavour of the week.
Yeah, Gang of Youths. I do love Gang of Youths.
Okay.
I've seen them in London and
I've not
New
listened to
York
them.
at the time. They're really cool. A bit of country. So I just got myself actually a record player. So I started collecting records. So I bought like Ziggy Roberts and then like Camp as well. So like I bought a couple. I'm like very early in the stages of building like a record collection, and I don't know, something about in the morning when you put a record on and you hear the crackling,
the little
it's so different to just playing it on like your UE boom or like your portable speaker. I don't know, the sound's different. I can't. Is it actually different? Do you know?
Yeah,
or is it just?
It is. Yeah, it's very technical, but like the vinyls, they're much like smoother sound for some reason. So when you hear like the old like orchestral songs like with like trumpets and horns and violins, it's always so much smoother on a vinyl, and like the human voice is a lot smoother on vinyl.
Yeah, I find just like making my coffee in the morning, listening to some vinyls, I'm just like in this flow. I'm like, yeah, I'm digging this.
Floating. Love it.
Yeah, give it a go. I'm probably real late with the craze, because I heard like collecting records has like been booming the last couple of years. So I'm a bit behind the craze right now, but it's been a little hobby of mine of late.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, just going back to what you were saying about like media and post race and stuff, thinking about stuff like that. Did I hear you say something about you have this like 24-hour rule?
Yep.
What is that?
So the 24-hour rule is I pretty much give Daniel 24 hours to vent about what essentially happened. So whether if it's a race where he had an unfortunate result or a race where he didn't meet his expectations, I give him 24 hours to vent and do as he please, whether it's stay in his room and just eat pizza and not talk to anyone, or just give himself time to
spicy pizza. That's the one. I've been doing a bit.
That what he likes?
I've been doing a bit of research for this one.
Spicy pizza.
Yeah, spicy pizza.
yeah, spicy salami pizza is his go-to, I think. And then after 24 hours is done, then our focus, we accept it. So you accept the result, right? Acknowledge what happened, and then you reframe for the next race, because this calendar comes around so quick, right? You don't have time to dwell on the past, right? And if you do, you're behind. You're not thinking about the next race, right? You need to reframe and start preparing for the next race. And there's so much to do in to prepare for a race, especially in this sport, right? It's 20 of the most fastest people on the planet. Like you need to make sure that you're 100%, or you are gonna lack, right? You are gonna fall behind. So that's my 24-hour rule. It's like give yourself 24 hours to vent, do your thing. But once we wake up and I knock on your door, it's all focused on the next race.
Go time.
Yeah.
How do you maintain 24-hour rule after like a qualifying day? If qualifying doesn't go to plan, but he's got a race on Sunday, obviously you haven't got probably 24 hours. So if qualifying didn't go to plan, what would be like your job then if he comes off really pissed off, really stressed, like something's gone wrong, like obviously keep him away from media and that, or whatever. Well, to be fair, it'd be funny on media no matter what he does. But what's your job then?
Can never keep him away from media when
He
they're
loves it.
Does he love it?
No, what I meant by that is like they've always got media commitments, so you can't.
Oh yeah.
Well, because they're always in the media pen after quali, right? So you can't avoid the media.
Yeah.
I find that, by the way, that whole media pen so intense. Like to take a guy who has just done something which like he is born to do, it's his heart and soul, and he hasn't had like the best result for whatever reason, to then come out, be thrust in front of a camera, and like not just Daniel, you see it in every single driver. If they've had a bad day, you can just see it in their eyes. They're like,
and if
man, I'm hurt.
And if they DNF and they come out early, don't they have to go and do the interview like whilst the rest of the race is going on? They get back early, everyone else is still racing, and they're standing there chatting about.
Correct.
So
that's horrendous. Like I don't think they should do that.
Yeah, it is brutal. I agree. It is tough. Like if you're having a tough qualifying session, you need to throw yourself in front of, I think sometimes it's like 5-6 media outlets within that pen,
and they've all got their mic in the face like that,
and they're obviously very direct.
Yeah,
they don't soften the blow, but that comes with the territory, and that is a good question. Like the 24-hour rule does not exist on a Saturday for sure. The one thing I would say is what makes it easier is that you can reframe that, right? Because yes, you may not have had a good qualifying, however, you have a new opportunity tomorrow.
You have a chance to.
Right, so there's a new opportunity tomorrow, right? It's a bigger opportunity tomorrow, right? So let's think about that, right? Yes, okay, qualifying can set you up for a better race, but not all the time, right? Like I said, we spoke about a lot of contingencies that can happen at the start, during a race, strategy, weather. So I guess you can play into that if you're having if you've had a difficult qualifying, to be like, hang on a second. There are a lot of things that can work to your advantage here, whether it's strategy, go on it hard, stay out late, look for a safety car. We see it time and time again, right? So, and a perfect example is he won in Baku from I think P16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ever involved in any of the strategies?
I should have known
hear it and they make the strategy?
No, so that they obviously have a strategy team, and him and the race engineer will talk strategy. I do like, driving back to our hotel, I do like to understand what they're doing, and I give him my 2 cents, and he'll obviously take it on board. But I do like to have a little bit of a say, but not too much, because at the end of the day, he's in those meetings. Those guys do what they do. So most of the time it's like leave it to the professionals.
Because I see you have a headset on in a lot of pictures when you're walking with him, and I just wondered who you were talking to.
So the headset is me mainly listening to Daniel and his race engineer, because I'd like to hear their language, how they speak, how they deal with certain things.
Can you cut in?
Michael's been a fucking dick today. I can't stand him today.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to talk to him during a race, but unfortunately not.
You're not allowed.
No, so usually, sometimes I'll talk to Tom, his race engineer. You know, he's just making sure that I'm on time for the national anthem because they can get fined if they're late to the national anthem.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So usually Tom will just come on the radio and be like, Michael, just checking that you're on your way to the national anthem, and I'll obviously check in and say, yep, we're on the way. And then sometimes, you know, there has been an instance once where I was actually walking off. And his balaclava wasn't working, his mic wasn't working, so I had to run back in with a spare balaclava, quickly like change it up like with 2 minutes to go. And so luckily, you know, I need to keep my headset in because if I didn't have my headset in, Daniel would have run a race with no communication to his race engineer.
That's not great.
Which would not be great. So
I swear that happened recently to someone.
I've heard stories about people when their water bottle hasn't worked.
yeah, Kimmy.
That's got to be. Has Daniel ever had that?
It happened to us in 19. Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, they forgot to connect the tube, so he went to sip and he just sipped air. So he had no drink for a whole
For
race.
like an hour and a half of that.
It was a hot race too, from memory.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because they lose a lot of water when they're through sweat.
yeah. No,
So-
I vividly remember like his lead engineer just sitting in the garage, and he came in the radio and he goes, "My drink's not working," and he just looked across to me and he was like, "I'm so sorry." Like he realized what he did. He's like, "I forgot to connect it." And I was like, "That's okay. I'll beat you up later."
What do you do in the garage when he's racing? Because you said you take notes. So
Yeah.
what kind of notes would you take? What would you write down or be looking at or doing?
I look at the way he defends, and I'll look at the way he attacks. You know, so sometimes I'll see, you know, is he being patient? Is he attacking the right way? If he attacks in a particular corner and they defend well, what's he doing from there? How is he anticipating the next move? Is he being reactive or is he anticipating, right? Is he being intelligent, right? So is he actually thinking, okay, hang on a second, I've tried this move twice in turn one, doesn't work. Okay, what's plan B? So just making sure that he's like, I'm just keeping him accountable to like, hang on a second, like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And,
Yeah.
you know, there's been instances where I'll come to him and be like, I think you left too much space there, which is why X dove in and got you. Like, I feel like you could have defended harder there. And then he'll go back and watch the footage and be like, yeah, you know what, maybe you're right. And then sometimes I'll watch the starts and I'll be like, you know, I think, you know, maybe talk a little bit about positioning. So that's where I know a lot of the feedback will come from his race engineer, right? Like, that's not my job. That is just something that I like to do as a coach. Like, no one's told me to do that. It's just I like to break the race down and see how I can help Daniel in any way, shape, or form. The way I see it is it's just an extra pair of eyes.
Oh, he'll appreciate that as well because you can then chat about it.
Yeah,
like if you're
correct.
giving your opinion, he'll then be able to bounce back and tell you what he was thinking in that moment in the race.
Yeah.
So you're
Correct.
going to open up a conversation that a lot of people might not have got out of him.
Yeah, correct. And, you know, I'll analyze his restarts, for instance, and, you know, maybe I'll go to his race engineer and be like, hey, look, you know, what's he like, you know, warming up his tires? Like, is there something he can do better? So that, you know, there's a lot of information that I can get from his race engineers where they'll be like, Michael, yes, he's very strong in this area, but he's very weak in this area. And I was like, okay, maybe there is something from a performance aspect on how I train him or how I prepare him that can change that, right? So, you know, and I'll give you an example, like his starts were an example. So in 18 and 19, his starts were quite average. So we actually changed our garage preparation from like halfway through 2019 to try and change a few things up to get him more sharp and reactive off the start line. And then come end of 2020, I think he was second in starts. I think Lewis was first.
What did you change? What did you do? Can you say? Or is it secret information?
Secret.
Just gave him different breakfasts.
We tried.
Coming soon, episode 2. No, so yeah, like, so there's information that I can definitely take on board from the team to try and make a difference from a performance aspect. And I think that's important as a coach, right? Like, you gotta step your ego aside and realize that, hang on a second, like there are definitely things that what we're doing right now that isn't perfect, and there's always ways to improve.
Yeah.
Like, sports science is forever evolving, and that's one thing I love about Formula One is that Formula One itself is so innovating, right? It's such an innovative sport, and so is sports science, right? And I just feel like the two and two just go so well hand in hand together, and actually understanding how to actually train a Formula One driver is very very scarce in the literature right now. You just don't know.
No, you guys are like a different breed. You're writing the book now.
Yeah, correct. You're literally writing the book now. So I'm going down some really cool avenues within neuroscience from like a cognitive perspective, and actually how to like really like train the brain, you know, train your peripherals, sharpen your perception. Like I'm really going quite deep with some neuroscientists and just trying to really just hone in and find that 1%, right? Because 1% in F1 can mean the difference.
Like a tenth of a second, you know,
man, you look at a tenth of a second in qualifying these days. It's the difference between P13 and P7, like, or P5. Like the midfield is so tight, you know. So I'm forever like I will forever as a coach like push the boundaries and always find different ways that I can enhance Daniel's performance. I'm not just going to be set in my ways as a coach. I'm always trying to improve.
Yeah, so before we spoke to Brad and even you, because we didn't know any of this stuff, like we didn't assume that a performance coach would have this much of a role. So, but to hear on how much you do behind the scenes, people might not know that you do, is so impressive because ultimately there is so much you have to know, learn about, be involved with. You have to be their friend, like you said. You have to be able to make sure they do something, make sure this goes right on one of the biggest stages in the world. How do you compare this to working with some of the other sports people you've worked with? Because when I went on your website, I saw someone from other people from motorsports and people like that. Yep. Do you think is Formula One just completely different?
It is different. Like the biggest thing I think where Formula One is so different is like the engagement that fans can get. Like you could literally be walking to the race, like from the garage to the pit and like through like the main straight. And people can just engage with you, right? Like there's fans like everywhere that can just stop, take a photo, say hello, and it's like
in the paddock now as well. There's loads of people. Everyone's going to be
crazy.
Like
it's like imagine a footballing team like walking out on the pitch.
It would never happen.
And there's fans on the pitch just saying good day before you go out to play. Yeah. And same as race day. Like race day, I see Daniel. Like for instance, we'll probably get to a race on like 9:30 in the morning. You know, it's a 3 p.m. race. I don't see him till 1:30 because he's got like paddock club meet and greets, sponsor meet and greets.
Really?
He's got engineering meetings. So like he's got like 5 hours of commitment before I even get to see him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I'm also like, geez, like you look at other sports, like you look at football, you know, the lads rock up out of a bus 3 hours before, they're chill, they listen to music, they don't have to do nothing, right? Which is how it should be. Yeah, right? Yeah. They should be in their zen state. They shouldn't have to do anything that's going to be mentally taxing or lethargic.
Something
right?
could definitely happen that could like put them off in that 3 hour period in an interview or meeting anyone. Like if you turn up to a race focused, you've just woken up that morning, had your breakfast, you're ready to go race, and you've got to do 3 hours of media in that. Surely something could put you off.
Yeah, I guess anything could.
Well, like doing a podcast, for example, right? It's like being in a meeting.
Yeah.
Right? You try and do 3 meetings, you'll be exhausted mentally, right? Like it's mentally taxing. Like talking to people, absorbing information, and then giving information back. It's mentally taxing. So from a coaching perspective, there are difficulties for sure because it's like how do you combat that? You can't. So it's like in a perfect world, I'd love for him to rock up to the race at like 1 p.m. Nice and chilled morning, and then just go straight in the car and he's just completely switched on and sharp, ready to go. But these drivers, they have to do a lot on a Sunday. They really do. And I think that's what people have to understand. These guys are crazy. Like, not only are we asking them to drive a perfect race for 2 hours
in something that is one of the most dangerous quick vehicles in the world,
they're also doing 3 days of media. Like Thursday's a full 8 hour day of media.
That's absolutely insane.
Right? And then they're doing like 2 to 3 media commitments Friday, 2 to 3 on Saturday, and then 2 to 3 on Sunday. So like it's crazy how much they ask of the driver and still ask them to perform at their absolute best. Like it's impressive.
Yeah. In light of that, I really wanted to get your opinion, and like there may be stuff where you don't want to answer or you can't answer, but do you think there is a sole reason or maybe multiple reasons why you think Daniel may not be performing how he wants to perform this year?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is what we spoke about earlier is familiarity, right? So Daniel was not familiar with the car, the way the car feels, right? He's used to a different driving style. What people have to realize is a lot of these drivers actually have very, very different driving styles. Like if you actually watch the onboards, it's particularly like if you watch like an Alonso, he's got a very different driving style. The way he drives the Alpine now is very different than the way Daniel used to drive it, right? And it's very interesting. And some cars can handle different driving styles, some cars can't. Unfortunately, McLaren has a very specific driving style, the car itself, the characteristics and the features of the car. And that is something that Daniel hasn't been able to really grasp personally. And it is, look, of course it's frustrating. Like, of course we want to be doing better for sure. But you also have to understand, like, you don't want to throw sympathy on yourself, and you also don't want to be the victim, right?
Yeah.
It's the worst thing you could do
Yep.
is accept that you're the victim, because you're not, right? So you have to accept it. Like I said, you have to acknowledge it, and you have to just keep focusing on the process. And that is something that I've been very impressed with Daniel, is that, he could have easily gone into his shell. He could have easily, gone a little bit negative in the media. But he hasn't. He's
kept it together.
He's put his head down. He's actually working harder than I've ever seen him work, right? Not worrying about the outcome or the results, because he can't control that, right? And just focusing on the process, and just not worrying about the outside noise, right? Not worrying what he can't control, which is, the media and what comes with the territory of being a professional athlete in Formula One. So look, I always say your biggest growth comes from your darkest times, right? So whether or not this is one of his darkest times in his Formula One career or not, I definitely think there's going to be a big growth coming from this year for sure.
Yeah.
And I always say, no one buys tickets to a flat roller coaster, right? Like, if you saw a flat roller coaster right now at a theme park, would you buy tickets? Hell no.
Absolutely not.
Right? And it's the same as life, and the same as
So true.
same as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sportsman, right? Any sportsman in the world, whether it's the best player in NBA, whether it's LeBron James, Roger Federer, I guarantee you could sit down with them, and they will say, yes, you are going to have highs and you are going to have lows. It's like a roller coaster. You just got to hang on, sit tight, look forward, and make sure that you trust in your ability, and making sure that you are focusing on your process and not being distracted by anything else.
And at this period of time, do you think about next year? Do you think about the potential of what situation you guys might be in next year? Or are you just thinking on now, this season, get it over and done with, and then think about it during the break?
Yeah, I think there's, what is it, 8 races? Correct me if I'm wrong, is it 8 races?
I don't know, something like that.
No idea.
There's a few left, yeah.
I should know. There's still plenty of races. So for me, there's still a lot to achieve this year, right? So perfect example was last year. We had a very slow start to the year, and then we came out and won Monza, right? And so one win can change a lot.
Yeah.
So, I'm not just going to write off the second half of the year because the first half of the year didn't go well. Like, I still think there's massive amounts of growth and improvement to happen for sure, because I believe in Daniel so much. Like, I honestly believe that he's one of the fastest in the world. And I believe that, he can definitely be a lot quicker in this car, and he can crack the code essentially of what he's trying to find.
Yeah.
Right. So no, I'm not thinking about next year. I don't want to get too far ahead. I embrace, the unknown and the uncertainty. I think that's quite exciting.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that's life, right? When people say, where do you want to be in 5-10 years time? I don't like to plan life, man. I like to.
Same here, yeah.
I think you need to embrace the uncertainty of life, because if you don't, then it's going to stress you out.
Yeah.
Right? Just accept it. Just accept that sometimes life's going to go in a different direction than you planned it to go. Right? And that's just part of it. So no, to answer your question, no, I haven't really thought about next year.
Cool. Do you think Daniel thinks about it?
I think he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has to. Yeah, for sure. But I'll leave that to him. It's something that we'll eventually talk about. But I think August break is, for me, I don't think it's the right time to talk about that right now. I think he needs to do what he did last year, and what he does every year is just switch off from Formula One, reset, and come back fresh, ready to hit a very, very busy second half of the year.
It's great. We just watched the Elvis movie. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, I was going to watch it last night.
It's amazing.
It's good. It's
amazing.
Really good. Austin Butler played Elvis.
Nice.
And what happened, they spend so long getting into the character. They put so much work into it. But then they had the COVID break, and he was still putting in work during those 2 years off to really kind of embody this character and be that guy. But the main thing, because Tom Hanks is in it as well, and the main thing that Tom Hanks said to him was just make sure that you find one thing every day to pull you out of it, just to focus on something else, because otherwise you'll go insane. So, like, is there other things that you or Daniel do? Like, you guys are in this, your head must be in the sport all the fucking time. So to be able to just pull yourself out of it, what other interests do you or Daniel have which you can enjoy doing when you're not doing Formula One?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's something where I definitely think as an athlete, you need to have a healthy balance of, what you're trying to achieve in sport and what you're trying to achieve as a human, like in life, right? Because at the end of the day, sport isn't life. right? So you have to understand there has to be a healthy balance there, and if you get that balance wrong, you feel like you're in quicksand sometimes.
Yeah.
So with Daniel, he loves to be in nature. He loves to get out, and whether it's hiking, mountain bike riding.
We saw you guys mountain biking.
Yeah, he loves it. He's way too quick for me. I tried going mountain bike riding with him and keeping up, and I think I went over the handlebars like 3 times. So how I didn't break my collarbone, I do not know.
I'd love to go mountain biking with you guys.
Yeah, I think after 3 hours, he just started laughing at me because I was just bruised head to toe. So I haven't gone back.
So he's allowed to do that to you, but if you bruised him, I'm sure there'd be people gunning for you, wouldn't there?
Well, I kind of blame myself. That was my ego trying to keep up with him. I should have slowed down and just try to keep myself on track. And a couple months ago, or about 5 weeks ago, we went to Montana and stayed on a friend's ranch, and that was beautiful. Get to ride some horses, just be a kid again, like be in space, be in nature. And we went hiking, we went to the National Glacier Park, went riding up the hills there. So and the fortunate thing is I love that too. So I think part of that really helps him switch off. And really he loves embracing nature, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think we all need to be nurtured in nature more than not. I think we can very easily just get stuck into our apartment and our routine of just waking up and sitting in front of a screen for 8 hours, 9 hours a day.
We've started doing it, haven't we? We've started doing like a 1 hour of no phones.
Nice.
Yeah,
We were sat here, play guitar. We had these little cards. We ordered a McDonald's the other day. You'll be pissed off to know about that. We had a McDonald's, but it came with these little like poke.
You bought a salad though, right? Of course.
Salad. Yeah, with extra chicken. They come with these like little cards where it had like a Pokemon on it, but it was like duplicates, and you have to like turn them over, and you got to find the match. Yeah.
We were playing it for ages.
I felt like I was like so intelligent after it. I couldn't believe, because it just gets your mind rather than staring at your phone all day.
Yeah. So I started doing the same with my girlfriend over lockdown, right? Because you're in your apartment, and everyone can definitely relate how easy it is to sit during lockdown, just be on your phone the whole time, right? Sit on TikTok for 30 minutes or whatever floats your boat. But we started buying cards, Jenga, Uno, and just started playing like board games again. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually quite therapeutic.
Yeah,
like, what is this? Like,
woke up bits of my brain I haven't used in ages.
That
little thing we did yesterday.
Really good.
Yeah,
that's one thing about London. We don't really have the outdoors as much here.
Well, hopefully next year with the Formula One Canada, we'll be travelling to a lot more races.
Yeah,
and then we'll have a lot busier year.
That'd be nice.
That's got to be the plan.
Yeah, Formula One if you're watching.
I will say we actually have been getting into cars a lot lately. So every flight that we've been on, we've been playing the game Bullshit. Have you heard of Bullshit?
Yeah, I love Bullshit.
Oh man,
I love Bullshit.
It gets personal real quick. I
bet it does.
We've played it the last 4 flights. The last flight coming back from Budapest, we had Lando playing. We had I think it was like 5 of us, Lando and his trainer John. And it got personal, man. It got personal. Oh yeah, it's been really fun actually, just playing that, and makes the flight go quick.
Yeah.
Is it different teams on the same flight, or is it just like McLaren has their flight? Red Bull has their flight.
It depends. But this particular flight, it was just the McLaren boys. So we got everyone involved and started playing Bullshit. And you try play off one of another, and you bluff. And if the bluff works, you feel like you're a superhero.
That's jokes.
Does every driver, do you think, like from your point of view, have the same relationship with their performance coach, or is yours more special because you have known each other so long, like friends, like? You haven't just been hired into the role and then you've met him and you've been like, I'm going to be your coach now. You knew each other before. There's a story there. You watched his journey. Yeah. So do you feel like other drivers aren't as close with their performance coach on the grid?
Mate, to be honest, I could only really comment on my relationship with Daniel. Me commenting on what I see outside, I think would be quite like vain of me. I think what I see definitely is I do see strong relationships for sure. We hang out with each other maybe like 250 days of the year. So for me, it's like, well, if the coach isn't getting on with the driver, they're not going to last, right?
Yeah.
So you would have to assume that there has to be a strong bond there for them to just be able to work together and work efficiently, and for it to be very cohesive. So I would definitely say there would, I think coach and drivers, all of them would be very close. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just wondered whether all the other coaches go mountain biking and do all that stuff with this.
I think so. Well, I mean, it depends on what their interests are, for sure. I guess we have similar interests, so we can do those things together. I'm sure there would be definitely drivers and coaches that go out and do some outdoor activities or just hobbies, similar hobbies in general together. Yeah.
It's so interesting, man, having people like you on the pod, because I mean, I don't know if you know, but we're new to this sport, so we only really got into Formula One last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
this podcast has been going for 5 months.
5 or 6 months.
Damn.
Yeah, and our whole thing has been like trying to get at it from a new fan perspective. I think that's why a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon, is because there's a lot of new fans from Drive Survive and everything else. And I think the more that we have people like you on the podcast, the more it makes me realise how important you are to the sport. I mean, you're really like the glue which are like holding these drivers together at times, because I heard someone say it, whether it was you in another podcast or someone else, someone said like a driver needs a best friend in the paddock, and like you essentially are that.
Yeah, thank you. And it's, you know, the sport can be a very lonely sport at times. So that's something that I think people have to recognize, is there's a lot of travel. There's a lot of sitting in planes and cars going to and from hotels by yourself. You know, you're going back to an empty hotel room every night. So it does have its times where you are quite lonely, and it's very easy to get homesick, right? Because you don't have a routine. Like your life is living out of a suitcase. So if you like routine, this job is hard. Like I always say, anything that looks great in life, there's always a bigger sacrifice. Right. So, you know, there's always people that, you know, chime into what I do, and I completely appreciate it. And I'm always grateful of what I do. Everyone's like, oh, I want your job. I want your job. It's like, but hang on a second. This is what I sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hang on a second. Okay.
So much you miss.
There's so much you miss, because obviously you're only seeing what the event is.
Yeah.
And it's the same as these drivers that, you know, yes, they've got this amazing opportunity. They get paid very, very well. But yeah, it is a lonely life at times, and it is very difficult to, you know, whether it's build a family, see your friends, like build close relationships. So yes, at times, sometimes all you do want is a friend. And that's what I obviously trying to achieve when I know when to put my friend hat on and when to put my coaching hat on.
Cool. Well, hopefully we get to see you out at the paddock at a race at some point. We always somehow manage to sneak in the paddock, so if we do see you... Yeah, we've been to 3 races and snuck in 3 times so far.
Zan Vault, let's catch up.
No, I'd absolutely love to. I'm going to go over to this camera and say goodbye quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to end the podcast so this camera can see me as well.
Our camera is literally
that one's
just turned
died
off.
And I want it for the YouTube.
Oh, was that what that...
Yeah, it died. Fab, come over as well. We've got to come this way to end the podcast.
Come on this side. Come on, guys.
Do a little bit of that.
Okay. Michael, thank you very much for joining us. We'll have to...
oh, this is cute.
Imagine we did
I didn't think we'd be getting this close the first time I met you, to be honest with you.
I reckon we found something here. This is quite good.
We need a third host. We do need a third host. So if Daniel sacks you, then you're in.
Done. All right. I might be out of a job.
Thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, our next podcast will be live on Monday. Yeah, Monday. Rate the podcast 5 stars. Follow it if you haven't already. Michael, thank you for joining us. Good luck for the rest
Mate, it's
of the
been an
season.
absolute pleasure having you here,
Thanks
bro.
so much.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Guys.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers, mate. Cool.
Got weird at the end.
No, that was all right.